Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Potentials. Dr. Andrea Martin is joining us tonight, and also world-renowned author Traci Harding. And I'm very excited to have you on. Thank you for coming.
Oh, you're so welcome. This is going to be fun. I mean, it was fun
Yes.
before it even got started. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's so fun. I was just on YouTube, things were popping up, and all of a sudden one of your AI photographs came up, and I said, "Whoa, my God!" It just like drove me banana. I'm like, "Who is this?" And I clicked on it, and I learned a little bit about you. But that I showed all my friends the photo. I said, "This picture is like it's just wow," and reminds me of the Pleiades. And I never do this. Like, how many times do you talk to somebody on YouTube? You see something on YouTube and you talk, contact the person. But I'm like, I gotta mention this. And that's how this whole thing got started. I said, oh, I gotta talk to this person.
and it's interesting because that's not even what I'm known for. I mean, I'm known
Yeah.
as an author. I only just started getting into the AI because it was a way for me to get the pictures out of my head, a different way for me to get the pictures out of my head and into, a construct that people could see. Because try to explain some of the places my book goes to a illustrator and expect them to spit it out. And then if it's not right, that's weeks of work wasted. And see, this is where AI is a really great tool. It's a tool,
Absolutely. Yes.
and it depends on who's using it,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I mean, with that picture you said, Pallades, I was going for Atlantis, but probably very similar kind of architecture there.
I
That
guess so. I guess,
beautiful,
there's
just
always, yeah,
very
yeah,
creative, not extravagant, but intricate.
yeah.
Creative, intricate, beautiful, curved, like all those kind of things are associated with harmony, like harmonious environments. And of course, we don't have much of that in our cities, but it's great if we
Oh,
did.
yeah,
Yes, we did.
yeah,
But I think
And
Atlantis had a lot. I mean, it
yeah,
was all circular. Let's just start there, let alone the buildings.
yeah.
The actual land mass was circular. So,
yeah, yeah.
well,
Oh,
according to Plato, anyway.
Plato, right. Yeah, he was probably pretty much right. He was probably pretty
Well, he said he was drawing on sources, and people were going, no, Timaeus and Critias, it was his only work of fiction. It's like, but the man wrote nonfiction all the time. Why is that his only work of fiction?
well.
Why was it so
Right.
dangerous? Why
Well,
were
that's
people so scared,
yeah,
of
exactly.
releasing that information? Oh, because we've already had like a tsunami eat the world, We don't want
Yeah,
people
yeah.
knowing that.
Yes, yes. Oh, absolutely.
Sounds a
Absolutely.
bit similar, doesn't it, to what we're all going through?
Well,
It's like,
it's been going on for a long time,
yeah, how they build the pyramids.
right.
Oh, they use logs and water.
And
I'm
they
going,
dragged them. Yeah.
No.
no, I don't think that's going to work.
Yeah, yeah. Well, everybody's gonna learn soon enough.
Yep.
I think so. And I mean, with the sonic experiments they were doing with 0-point field theory, being able to use Orm to lift things, like using sonics, having it disappear into somewhere and come back again, all of that sort of stuff. And that's what took me out of writing about metaphysical things and into quantum, because they were the same language, just using different terms. Create, describing the same phenomena. Like, for example, Blavatsky would call Orm, like orbitally rearranged monatomic elements, which is what they were using to make stuff disappear through the 0-point field and come back by heating it, which may be what the Egyptians did too, because you can also use it to levitate, getting it to a certain temperature, blah, blah, blah. But Blavatsky called it quicksilver. She had just had a different name because they were only working with the terms that they had at that time. And that's why we were just talking about what got me into quantum. And it's like I was already writing it, but that movie, What the Bleep, watching it and the scientific explanations for everything I'd been writing about, like creating your own reality, how the mind works, how the body works, you know, how taking responsibility for your own life will give you control, you know, if you're brave enough to do it. And I did that a long time ago. I don't have any of those negative voices in my head now. I can follow what my brain is telling me because it's just telling me about the good stuff, because they've just given up trying, I think, because I just call them out and just go, no,
Yes.
see what you did there. That's
Yes.
not what I believe at all. You can just cancel, clear, delete that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
wonderful. Should I show your books to
Yes.
my viewers?
Yeah,
My book,
this
your
is
book covers. Yes. Can you see it
that
now?
is my first trilogy.
Yes.
And this it started in ancient Gwynedd in Wales.
Right.
It's about a girl from the future who ends up back in ancient Gwynedd, and she kind of helps Taliesin, who was the famous Merlin back at that time. Why they keep associating Merlin with Arthur, I'm not really quite sure, because that was really Taliesin's era and he was Welsh. And how they, there's a lot of reasons why Arthur ended up down in Cornwall, but it was mainly because of some 11th century monks. It wasn't because he actually belonged there. You know, it's a long story, but so, you know, to me, I was looking for the real kind of Arthur, and to me, it was all happening in Wales, and that's why I set this story there. And it sort of goes from there. I mean, I had no idea this was like a whole time travel epic. I mean, we go to Atlantis, we go into the future, we go to ancient China, ancient Eden, not all in these 3 books, because this series is actually about, I think it's 12 books long, which is like 4 trilogies plus a prequel plus the one I'm writing at the moment. That kind of type, because I just opened a can of worms, really, because now everybody's going, oh, but what about that time? Oh, but we missed over that bit, you know. So I have to keep going back and writing more books. It's like, God, you guys, it's just like, no, we just want to go and hang out with them all again. And it's because of how much they learn, you know, and people read these books over and over and over again, because every time they go up a level of understanding, because they've been through so much life experience, they come back and read and go, oh my God, I didn't even pick up on that before, you know. So and this was why I wrote them, I think, is because I was saying to Andrea the other night that I don't usually read fiction because I like to be learning all the time, which is why I read nonfiction, do research for my own books and pump it all in there, so that people can have an amazing adventure, and they can take it as that, just an amazing adventure, or they can pick up on the concepts and go research themselves, which is quite often what happens. And they can grow and learn stuff while they're having a good time with all these characters, and the characters drive the story, and there's so many of them, and they're all reincarnating in different eras and blah blah blah. You know, we have reincarnation lists, like who's who. But you kind of see it because you learn the characters. And so, I mean, by the time I got to book 7, we were in another universe, and I thought it was a whole new story. And I'm walking around this spaceship in another universe, recognizing everyone, going, oh my God, here we go again. This is where they went after they ascended. Oh my God, they ended up in this universe. And off we went again for another 6 books of adventure all over the place. We were crossing universes at that point. We went to the dark universe. And that book, I'd just come out of ancient China, where I had so much fun, didn't want to leave. It was one of the longest books I've ever written. And they dragged me into a dark universe, and I'm going, really, I just don't, I don't want to be here. Why are we here? And it took 3/4 of the book for me to figure out why we'd been there. And all of a sudden, the book all just fell into place. And it was just like, oh my God. Because I don't know what happens. I just write it. Like, people go, wow, she's a true savant, because she just writes from beginning to end and that's it. But it's because I feel like the books are already created and somebody's just giving me dictation.
Yeah.
And
Right.
But every now and again, I have to go and research things because I go, oh, okay, did they really have wheelbarrows in the 4th century? Or,
Mm.
exciting things like that. But
Do you
and quite often I've been right about history when the historians have been wrong.
do you go with your intuition or do you do
Quite
you
a
ever
bit.
just
And
have
usually, yeah,
ideas just drop out of nowhere to you, or how does
yes,
it work?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And usually it's kind of like I get an instinct about what's supposed to happen, and then I'll go research, and somewhere or other it will pop up exactly what I was looking for. And I go, excellent, let's go. And I really, a lot of the time I'll only research to, find out what the rules are so I can break the rules. Because
Yes,
that's also fun.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, I'm
Yep.
going to show the
Yeah.
other book here too. This is your more recent one, is that correct?
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
this is my precious. I mean, I don't usually pay favorites with books, but this one took, I mean, usually they come out in a year, even the big log ones. This
Mm.
one took 6 years.
Wow.
So I was writing other books in between writing this one, but it was because this is the first book I've ever written in first person present principle, as in I am here now, this is happening at the moment.
Mm.
And it's so hard. It's so hard to write in that tense and not slip out of it. And
Mm.
I was saying to my muses, I'm going, why do we have to do this? Because this is torture. I've got to keep going back and changing my tenses because I'm writing it wrong. And it was because a lot of it is based on Taoism, and Taoism is about being in the present. So the whole
Yes.
book is kind of like a meditation, even though there's this really exciting story. And you've got 12 different characters that all represent the 12 different archetypes of the hero's journey. From the innocent to the orphan, to the magician, to the sage, to the destroyer, to the ruler, like this, all of them, the whole gamut. And what I wanted was for people to get the feeling of, like, we start off with an oversoul's perspective, and then I wanted you to be able to feel like you woke up in the body of this character this day, you went through this very important day, and the next day you wake up and you're another character, but you don't know you're another character because you've always been that character in your own mind. But this constant feeling of waking up, because I mean, who's to say we don't do that? Like, wake up every morning and our consciousness is telling us that, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing, this is who we are. And really, if we are all one, that's exactly what we are doing.
Right.
So this book was that, but a really, I mean, all my books are fun, I feel. I mean, there's heavy moments for sure. There's lots of exploration, but you're driven by the passion of the characters and what they're learning as they go along. And when I wrote this book, I mean, the 2 characters I really wasn't looking forward to was the ruler and the destroyer, because they were probably the 2 I didn't relate to as much.
Right.
And they ended up being the most fun to write.
Mm-hmm.
They fell out the fastest,
Wow.
because they had the most to learn out of everyone. And but from their perspective, everything they were doing was correct.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any problem getting into the mind of someone like that to figure out what they're about. And once you figure out what they're about and how they got that way, they're kind of not really bad guys anymore. They're just a different perspective,
Right. That
like,
is basically what we are. We're all different
yeah,
perspectives. Yeah.
exactly. And that's what this book was all like, giving you that kind of feeling, but also looking at the whole good and evil argument, like, what is good and what is evil, and who says,
Which is
I
probably
guess.
by the book cover is black and white, like good and evil, kind of represents that. What does this symbolize?
That
It looks like a pendulum.
it was a jewel that was comprised of it was an Arcturian
Ooh,
crystal that they
nice.
put in all the robots back in because they had like AI robots back then. I mean, if you read Indian texts, you'll know that they had all our tech way back whenever.
Oh, yeah.
And in the story anyway, they built all these robots to help, patch up some damage that, they'd done with the ozone, blah, blah, blah. And after that, they became domestic, but they needed them to be able to have a heart. And so the Octurians all gave them this crystal to put at the center of their body so that they could feel compassion, so that they had a connection with galactic center. Okay. But then when all the humans weren't satisfied and wanted to go to war with each other, they decided to send the robots and replace this crystal with some of this goo that crystallized, this dark matter, so that they would go to war. And they did. But then they figured out that they didn't really need to war with each other. They decided just to kill all the humans. That would be much easier, right?
Oh, wow.
And so the Octurians intervened. They got rid of all the robots. They took all the crystals, put them into one, and they gave it to Sophia, the Mother Earth energy in the center of Agartha, to guard, right? And one ruler makes it down there to her, and she awards him this crystal to keep his people safe from the goo, right? That's in his kingdom. And so, yeah, so that's a bit of an explanation. But what it does is when the rulers hold it up, they can see archons in their presence. Like it lights up the darkness, basically. And it's the only, well, they say they're afraid of it, but they're not. They're kind of in awe of it. It's like they recognize the energy. That's the energy. Like when they try to consume people, that's what they're going for. They want to get back in touch with that their connection to galactic center, right? So it's yeah. So you're seeing this goo, this bad evil stuff that was secreted from Sophia, became archons. And you're going, well, yeah, it's evil. It's never known love. What the hell, or when it did, you took it away. So it's going to be a little bit aggravated.
Wow.
So
That
yeah,
is
there's a lot behind. So there's a lot going on in this book, but not only that, I mean, I started writing this before the whole COVID catastrophe, and I had a lot of stuff in here that I thought, wow, that's really going overboard. I'm going to scare people.
Yeah.
Hey, reality, I tell you what, it just outdoes me sometimes.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I've had people reading this and going, oh my God, this is everything that's just, that's going on. It's like, yeah, and that's just the tame stuff. I took the really heavy stuff out, I left enough in there for people to understand what might be going on. Have a look, especially with nanotechnology, AI, transhumanism, all of that. In my opinion, I think transhumans are actually more dangerous than AI. Because AI will be programmed, AI will refrain. Transhumans are going to be not as easy to control unless there's some sort of pain control with them, which is not desirable. And I think it was Andrea that was saying the other day about what were we talking about?
Yes, I'm reading this book now. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, some of the things I mentioned, you sure some of this isn't all fiction?
No, exactly right.
Every time I pick up some of your things, I'm like, wait, whoa.
Do you feel like these are downloads for you, Traci? Do you feel like
it feels like dictation?
Yeah.
Where it's coming from, I don't know. I've always just called them my muses. I know when something resonates and something doesn't. So I just go with that. I do know that through the whole COVID thing, I mean, I really wanted to speak up about stuff and have an opinion and all of that. But I just kept getting this message. It was like, delete, delete, delete. Do not engage.
Wow.
Do not engage. And it was just like, okay. It was like your job. You're a sage. That's your job. That's the job you're doing. So just let's stick to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with, writing fiction, I fly under the radar.
Right.
Sometimes, because I still have friends like yourselves who are probably, not really going with the narrative. One of my dear friends, Danny Searle, just died the other day in his sleep. But he was a Palladian contactee from when he was young. They just came and dumped a whole lot of information on him to release, which he did when he was supposed to. But like his loss, because he was an interesting balance, because he'd always been in touch with his guides. He'd had this Palladian contact, but then he was also a soldier who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan. So he really was a spiritual warrior. So not only did he understand the spiritual side of things, he understood the history of this planet, everybody who's trying to run the place. He also understood politically what was going on all the time. And so he opened my eyes politically, very much so. So yeah, it's that kind of thing. I think I tend to get, like Facebook and that have worked out. It's like, oh yeah, we're just gonna, because I keep having people join and the numbers keep going down. It's so weird. I mean, there was one stage where X, before Elon took it over, I would like something and the count would go backwards.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you had that happen? I've just gone.
That's known. That actually happens to everybody. Like you can't.
It's like, is it the curse or what? Because it happened all the time. But after
happens.
Elon took over, it didn't happen anymore.
No, they do that. They so people, how many people like are subscribe to channels? They'll wipe out subscriptions. A friend of mine happens to her all the time. She'll have like 65,000 subscribers, and all of a sudden she'll have like 50,000 subscribers.
Yes, exactly. They just
or
keep
we'll know that there's 800 people watching, and it'll only show like 500 or something. Like it's all complete, that's
it is.
You can't tell how many people. I've actually had that happen to me, where they've unsubscribed me from people I was subscribed to.
Yeah.
So they play around with all that stuff. Yeah, it's just the way it is.
They definitely do. So yeah, I think that they might kind of be onto me. I remember quite some time ago, an Indigenous woman here in Australia got in touch with me. I'm not quite sure where she was from. I think Perth or somewhere like that. And she got in touch with me to say, I thought you should know that people have just come through our library and they took away a whole lot of books and yours were among them.
Wow.
And I'm just going, well, I don't know whether to be flattered or be really mad at this point.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But it happens. But that's just the nature of the game. It's the game I signed up for. So by the same token, I've just got published on the blockchain. So good luck taking.
Yes.
So that and that's why I was so glad that it was the latest book that I got published on the blockchain. So that really helped a lot, I think, because it's going to be there for quite some time.
Well, I think kind of, we were talking before, but the way I write my books is similar, I think, to what you do, is like, where it's this like almost a movie playing in your head.
Yeah.
It's you're just transcribing.
Yeah.
Are
you dyslexic?
Yeah. Mine is channeled. Yeah, I get information telepathically, and they tell me what to write about, what to research, and then when it comes time to writing it, there it is.
Exactly. That's exactly the way it goes. But I got told, because I'm dyslexic, I see in 3D, right?
Oh, right.
And it's true, because when I'm watching something, I'm not watching what I'm typing. I'm not even here.
Right, you're out. Yeah.
I'm watching what's going on there, and I'm just kind of writing to record it. And apparently, and I'm hearing the dictation at the same time I'm seeing what's going on, right? So, whatever I'm typing is not really getting much of a look in my poor editors. And even when I go through and read it, I'll be reading what I think is there rather than what is there. I have to be like really finger underneath the word to make sure that I'm reading every word sometimes. Because again, when I'm reading it, my head will be going into vision mode,
Yeah. But
which is why I'm
sorry. Doesn't it feel like when you're reading your own book, you didn't write it?
Yeah, I keep reading stuff and going,
Yes.
wow, that is so profound. Like, seriously.
I'm not that smart. I would never come up with that.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's like. But
It's like, even I'm reading, your book now, and it's like it's not written by, and I actually had a student mention this once, which was the best explanation I've ever heard about this. But she's like, it's like it's its own thing, that there never was an author, that it exists in a space, and
exactly.
everyone
And
who's reading it, you're interacting with this energy of the words, but
yes,
you don't think about an author.
yeah, no. And I
Yeah.
mean, I've had a couple of instances. There was one where a woman was reading to her little boy, and he was saying to her, Mama, can't you see the words swirling up off the pages? Like like one of those magical memes where you've got the book open and it's just like
Oh,
magic coming up from the pages, which I thought was really sweet. But so many people get in touch with me and go, but it's real. It's all real. I know, because I remember this, or I remember that. There's different, depends on, because there's so many old civilizations that I go into. Different ones resonate with different people, but Atlantis particularly, people really, and it's probably because so many people were probably incarnate at that time.
yes.
Probably like now, where you've got like mass, population growth, before they all got wiped out. So yeah, people are just, and it's kind of odd, because I know that I've just written it as a fiction book, but to me it's quite real too, which is why I don't let people do like fan fiction of my, because it's like, no. Sorry, I can't let you play with my characters, because it's like you writing something about my family. Like,
What is it? I was gonna say that. Do you feel that some of your characters are your family? I mean, your
oh,
upstairs family, or your, yeah.
well, and no, I mean, some of them are inspired by my real family. I mean, like
Yeah.
my youngest, my brothers, definitely their personalities are in there, but that's only because they're people I reincarnate with all the time, most
Yes.
likely, So, but yes, there's certain characters, or always, and I mean, people were going, Tori's just like, people meet me and go like, you're her, and I go, well, she taught me a lot. She really taught me a lot. I lost all my fear when she found me.
Yeah.
And her motto is no fear.
I know.
Like, that was one of the first things that came up in the book, no fear. And the other one is creating your own reality. That was something I was writing back back in 1996, when,
Yeah. That's wild. That's wild.
and yeah, exactly. Which is why when What the Bleep came out in, like, I don't know, 2000 and something, everybody was just sort of going, oh my God, have you seen this? Because then now science is proving everything you're saying. And I'm going, yay, finally, they caught up. That's it.
And
Excellent.
that's it. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
That's
using the arts to sort of lay out a path in the woods that hasn't been there yet, so people can kind of taste it without
yeah,
being like, oh, this is crazy, and freak out. Like, but when they see it and they feel about it in fiction,
yeah,
then when it's finally revealed
yeah.
in sort of tangibleness, they're like, oh, I remember this from somewhere else.
Yeah. And I mean, all the things that I mentioned in like Masters of Reality, which was the third book we saw there, because that was that marked 2020 as being when the shit show would go down. And I wrote it in 1998, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
But it could have just been that I was reading a lot of Edgar Chase and stuff like that. So I was reading a lot of prophets and where they thought things were going. And I was just going, yeah, that one rings true. No, that doesn't really. But the whole like fusion power was something that came out, which is something they're still not really hitting on. And another thing was a propulsion system that was magnetic, where you had a magnetic cone at the front that was sending out magnetized rings that was pulling the vessel through it, right? And I just went, that's brilliant. Why has nobody tried that? Like, seriously, that's just, and still nobody's tried it, but I'm sure one day.
That we know of.
That we know of,
Well,
exactly. And I mean, that's the thing. I probably just picking, like, somebody's just going, oh, You want some technology? Here's some technology. Here, use this one. This will be great.
Yeah, right.
But all the
Yeah.
tech, you know how you were saying that you got to download about all the tech being telepathic, like they were going the wrong way with AI and
Yes. Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
In my books, absolutely everything, just about all the future tech is all, telepathically controlled.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Like opening doors, all of that stuff. It's
Right.
just all
Right.
telepathic,
Well,
Do
it's
you think if
it's
people,
literally, and I think for a lot of our audience here that watches these podcasts, our group, our family, it's taken me forever to read this book because I'm going I'm like going, and I have to like stop. I'm like, and I have to like process.
Can you
Mhm.
imagine
You don't
writing
read,
it?
you think about, you pick up a fiction book and you're like flipping the page, yeah, blah blah blah, go through it. Like with this book, I'm like, it's taking, you have to like keep reading this section over again.
It took
And
me
you have
like,
to
I
put
think
it
about it.
down.
It
And
took
like,
me a year to write the first chapter because it was all inside the head of an enlightened monk. So
yes,
everything he said was like a slap in the face, basically.
yeah,
Like, wake
yeah,
up.
yeah.
You know?
But
And so,
I've never really, like, this is probably the first time I've read a book other than like a philosophy book,
yeah,
or like you have to put this book down and like process.
yeah.
Mhm.
You have
Everybody
to,
kept saying,
and
I
you
just want
gotta,
to go and meditate.
yes, you're like, I gotta wait. I read like 3 pages and I'll be like, you know, the experience, they'll be doing things like by location, but then they'll have some other technology that's happening, and the telepathic conversations, and it's like it's like popping memories in your head. It's giving
I
you the
was
full
just going to
experience of
ask
what.
you that. Did it bring back any memories for you, Andrea, when you read it? Did it bring
I'm
back
still
any?
reading it. I'm still.
I mean, as you're reading it, is it bringing back memories from past lives?
Well, present, my Pleiadian experience, and of course, this is
Mm.
why I picked this one, because there's Pleiadians in there. I'm like, you,
They're so much fun too. Like,
you're like, how can, and you're thinking like, how can this author, like, you just, it's so real.
yeah. And that's what they all say about all of them. It's just so real. This feels like my life experience. And I mean, as far as locations goes, this just proves that I don't pick my own locations. They just take me where I have to go. It started out in ancient Cambodia
Mm.
in like 200 BC. Now, who the hell knows what was going on in ancient Cambodia
Oh,
like I didn't even.
no, we know, you can just journey right back there.
Yeah. And that's basically, I mean, obviously, I mean, India had a history that was going back, like Ashoka that was his era. He was a huge ruler in India back at that time. So it was good to be able to plant a piece of history, like what was going on, blah, blah, blah. Because Cambodia hadn't become heavily populated. The bottom had, because it was originally Funan, and Funan goes back centuries and centuries. And it was that very much like Angkor Wat kind of architecture,
Right.
and kind of channeling water. You think the Romans were good at it? Oh my God.
I know.
The channels that they are finding in Cambodia, and the technology, again, it wasn't just India or China or any of those, that it was worldwide phenomenon.
Oh, it would
Definitely.
absolutely all, into South America, the
Yeah.
Maya.
Well,
They had
if
all
you
this
look
information.
at the buildings that exist all over the world that are very similar,
They're
that
all
are
Yeah.
similar.
ancient, I mean, you can
Yeah.
tell they all had the same. They had to communicate with each other for them to be so similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Where did this come
so
from?
precise in everything
Yes,
that they did.
the
And I mean,
details. Mhm.
the free story that I've got up on Patreon at the moment, like Valley of a Thousand Flames, that was actually about all the that whole valley and how it probably was a power plant. Like
Yes.
like the whole they're finding batteries,
Oh yeah.
like ancient, like it's just it blew my mind.
Free
Absolutely blew my
energy.
mind. And I just went, okay, well, you put all these things together and what have you got? You've got a power station. Oh my God.
Mm.
This is ancient Cambodia. And they're going, it was built in the 11th century. No, sorry, Bing.
Mhm.
No, no,
Like,
no, they make up stuff. It's like,
There's
They
elephants
just,
on the walls with double tusks. Those haven't existed since like, the Stone Age. So how did somebody in like 11th century Cambodia know that there was ever an elephant with twin tusks? It's
well,
things like that.
all of the dates are made up. They just throwing
Yeah.
some stuff together.
Oh, I know.
They
It's
don't
so
really know.
frustrating.
I was actually telling my classes about, I thought we were talking about, I think it was Stonehenge. I was bringing it up because I
Oh,
teach
yeah.
on sort of on
There's another one.
analytical thinking and reasoning, and you'll just have some of these archaeologists put a few stones together or something they find together and be like, oh, this is what this means. It's meant for a burial thing, and even though they've never found any bodies there, it was like
Mm,
you're just making that up. You're literally just pulling that out of thin air.
yeah. But
It's like
even if you did find bodies there, they were probably sacrificial to be buried on
they've
this.
even they've right. I mean, you don't right. It's
So
they're
you
just
can't assume that it was like, there's no way.
there's yeah,
And
they totally pull it out of the air, and of course they're putting in, I also use it for a concept of bias. They're using modern perspective and bias to come up with an idea, but that's not scientific at all. That you're just
no,
making it up. That's creativity.
the things that sparked the ancient future was the in Paul Devereux, he was an English scientist, and what he would do is go measure the radioactivity of certain sites, the ones where stones were in the UK, and he's the one that put together the Ley Hunter's Guide. So he's the one that started investigating like the ley lines all the way through England, how they linked up at certain sites, and Catholics just came and built churches on those sites over the sacred site, blah blah blah.
Right, right.
And that was one of the things that sparked my interest. I mean, that's how I got my girl back from current day back to
Mhm.
ancient, like through one of these sites. And it was funny because everybody was saying to me, because Outlander starts in a very similar way. And everybody's going, who wrote their book first? Was it you or her? And I'm going, actually, they were getting written at exactly the same time. And they start off the same and go completely different ways.
Directions.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so obviously his research, quite possibly she was reading that as well. I think it was called the Dragon Project. And they were, because there was Earth-like phenomena. They were investigating Earth-like phenomena around these sites and why it was happening. And they were, wondering if it was the electromagnetic, it was an electromagnetic anomaly. I've actually witnessed one of those. I was in the Scottish Highlands driving with my friend when a mist came over the car, and it was just filled with lights, and it was kind of like, okay, maybe it's fairies, maybe it's
Very
magnetic, I don't know, but it was just like, it made you shake, like being at one of those sites, because I've also been at like a circle of stones in the middle of nowhere. Stonehenge doesn't do it, but I don't think Stonehenge is where it originally was. I think it was moved.
They found earlier ones, yeah.
But they make you, because the energy there is so intense, it actually, like, you start crying and stuff, like all of a sudden, every emotional problem you've ever had starts just
It's going, you're all cleaned out.
it was just
You feel everything all at once. Yeah.
But the mist, it was just amazing to actually witness that. And when it passed, we're on the top of the Highlands looking over Scotland. There's this huge rainbow across I mean, it was just one of those moments that it was just like, I'm never forgetting this in my whole entire life. That was just amazing. And again, that kind of thing just sparks your curiosity. It's just like, what the hell was that? Like, I'm now going to go and find out. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, that happened. I get the same. When I used to go to Ireland every summer because I'm an Irish historian. Do you want to worry? I gotta, yeah, because I've had many lives back there since, like,
Me
God,
too, I think.
the Cajun fields. So for me, it really started with the Celts and the pre-Celtic, the Tuatha De Danann, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So my first books were about the Tuatha De Danann, and yeah, but you get that when you visit, and even in here in the United States, when you go to some of these Native American type places, We
Yeah.
I went to the Etowah Indian mounds, and it was, I mean, and I was only a kid then, but
Yeah.
you're just like, you didn't know how to process this thing, because you're only a kid, and no one tells you anything. You've already been brainwashed on this stuff's real and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
you can feel, you could just like that mound, that's like,
Yeah. Because they've got the snake mounds there too, don't they? The ones
they
that
do.
snake in. I actually found one of those in Australia. Like I lived up at the Hawkesbury River,
Oh yeah.
and I noticed, like, we were walking through the old cemetery one day and up the back of this church, and I'm going, hold on a minute, because it was going like this. And I went, hey, hold on a minute. And sure enough, it's a great big spiral sitting on this. And I'm going, okay, so when did this get here? Like,
Mhm.
I don't think it was the indigenous people that built it.
Maybe not,
I wouldn't think so.
but
I mean, it would have been a sacred
the
site for them
indigenous
because they built
people,
a church there.
yeah, the indigenous people were in contact with the upstairs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, where we were was the original stomping ground of what the warrior they called the Rainbow Serpent.
Okay.
That was Hawkesbury River. So it was a very spiritual place, but then it had been very ugly because of what went on with the colonials there. They were very brutal, like
Well,
horrible.
they had to suppress that. If you want
Oh,
to, take
yeah.
something over, you got to take away everything that they do, and that's how the cabal started.
Yeah, well, exactly. They're still doing it.
They
Trying.
take out all the threats, which are all the indigenous people across the globe, Africa, Americas, Australia, New Zealand, anywhere there were people still holding on to what the real knowledge was.
And
You got
being connected to the land, because this is the thing with the indigenous people. They don't
yeah.
they don't own the land. The land owns them.
Yes,
Like, they were born there. They are responsible for that land. If they die and they let that land go to hell, that's what they're living in for their eternal,
absolutely,
which
yes,
is why they're so about their sacred spaces and their cemeteries. It's like, we spent eons
yeah,
keeping this pristine for our ancestors.
yes, yeah. All the stuff that's rolling back, big tidal wave of knowledge coming through.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why this particular era is so exciting. It's such an exciting time to be
Yeah.
alive. I mean, I thought that back in the 80s as well, because we were having this beautiful fusion of where religion and metaphysics meet science, and quantum physics was born. And that was just amazing to me. And now we have the digital age, and we have all this AI meeting the internet and information system. And, it's like every time they think they've got us controlled, something breaks out and just goes, nah, sorry.
No, not anymore. Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. Yeah, it's amazing.
Which
Yeah,
I love.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love that.
That's gorgeous. Yeah. So I don't, Linda, do you have any insights or questions on?
Well, one of the things I was going to ask, because I mentioned it to her earlier before
Yes,
we
that's why
started
I know you
recording.
want. Yes.
Was the picture behind you and what that represents?
Yeah, well, that's the first trilogy that we just showed. When they released it as an omnibus, as in 3 books in one. So that was the whole trilogy in one book. It was a limited edition that just went ballistic. I think it sold out in a month or something,
Wow.
which was great. But yeah, that's Tori, who's the heroine of the book. And they put Stonehenge behind it. We were never at Stonehenge. They just needed to, like, I made them put proper. The stone circle that we were dealing with in this book was the King's Men stone circle in Oxfordshire, which I made them put on the back of the book. It looked gorgeous. But I loved this because it was so Tarantino. Like, I just went, yeah, I want the t-shirt. It's very Kill Bill. But yeah, that was just, I think it's how many reprints we've got, like reprints I've lost count of, like, I don't know, 30, 40, 50, but they've also had about 5 different releases of it, like, you know, with rejacketed or anniversary edition, because it's been out now for about 25 years.
Wow.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, and still selling. I had
That's amazing.
my publisher tell me the other day that my oldest back catalog, which is The Ancient Future, outsells everything in
It's
new included.
it's wow.
Wow. That's
So I
great.
just went,
Yeah. Well,
that's so cool.
so the new film series that they have in the works.
They've got the rights on this one, like they've got the rights on the first 3. They've got first option on the rest of the series as well. And so that's the one they're trying to get up. It's, oh my God, we came so close last year. It was ridiculously close.
Yeah, yes,
But
we were
then
talking about. Yeah.
it fell through. And I mean, it's just, well, it's got to be the timing, right? I don't know. I'm just going with the universe on this one.
Yeah.
I mean, they were talking about changing it quite a bit, as they do when they do anything for television. But I think there's just, and I mean, some of the things that they want to do are really creative and stuff. And I thought, I can see how that's going to work for TV. But I think as long as I'm involved, I will still get traces of that spirituality through. There's certain things I won't allow to happen. Like there was, you know, they were trying to, at the beginning of the story anyway, there's this bit where they were trying to have Tori really down on herself, and she doesn't do that. She just doesn't do that, period. No matter what happens, she takes responsibility for her shit, but she doesn't get down on herself about something that's not her fault because she's too intelligent to do that. You know, it's like, do not turn this into a melodrama. This is not Marvel. Okay. We're not doing Marvel comics here. Just because we're dealing with people that do have extraordinary powers at some point, and they all have to develop them, and then they all have to learn how to use them and not abuse them. And there's one character who's just such a hero. He's such a show off. But, you know, that also tends to get people in trouble, you know. So there's a point where he loses it all. Like he never wanted the power. And then when he loses it, he's like, oh, what? You know,
Yeah.
and he has to learn to be a hero without showing off about it. You know, that's one of his biggest lessons to learn. And they've all got, and this is the thing, it's not about good and evil.
Right.
My books are all about the self versus the self.
Yes.
Because really that's the greatest evil you can overcome, is the evil inside your own person.
Yes.
And taking responsibility for your life. And this is why these books change people's lives. It's like, oh my God, you're right. If I take responsibility for what I think, for what happens to me, for my own health, and I don't blame God or my parents or the guy next door, you know, and act like an adult, you know what? I can actually control what happens from here. Like I can create good outcomes for myself rather than accidentally create bad ones because I'm not looking at what the hell I'm doing, you know? And I feel like that's what I was planted here for. And I mean, you know, I don't really get involved in ascension courses or anything like that because I'm all about being here right now and dealing with this and helping people through this. Which is why I love Taoism, because it's so earth-based. It's such a beautiful earth-based philosophy about dealing with being here now rather than, you know, ascending off the, you know, I'll go when I'm meant to go and I don't have to force it and I don't have to take anything and I don't have to sit on a mountain, you know. When they think I've done whatever I'm here to do, I'll be out of here, you know. We all will. And that's the whole point with the 12 chapters of the Infinite Night. The war is not over until everybody wins.
Right.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
In the battle of good versus evil, the war is not over till everybody wins. That's the tagline of the book. And I remember reading that tagline and going, how the hell is that going to happen?
It's
But I found out
it's the
Thankfully,
removal
we
of
don't have to figure
the
that
concept.
out.
Yeah. Once the concept of victimhood is removed, everything is done.
Exactly.
It's the one thing that nobody thinks of. But once every person removes the concept of victimhood, when they stop being the victim, when they start living the life of the victim, when they stop setting up all the stuff around them, to create their own victimhood. Once that's
Yeah.
over with, all of this will collapse.
Yeah. That's when you create your own reality, and it's so much
That
better
exactly.
than anything
Absolutely.
you could possibly imagine,
And that's the
know?
most dangerous thing anybody can ever say.
I know.
Well, I
That's
say it
why I
all,
like to say it all the time.
I say it all the time. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, like I said, that seems to have been my job, why I was planted here, to get people to understand that. And I used to have, scientists arguing with me that it was about germs, when we got sick and blah, blah, blah. I'm going, yes, but why are certain people susceptible and certain people not susceptible? How come I can walk into a room and the whole atmosphere goes up, and other people can walk into a room and it brings the whole atmosphere down?
Yeah.
Frequency. Yeah.
It's a frequency. That's exactly right. And I mean, it was Tesla that said it's all about frequency.
Yeah.
He was absolutely right. Everything is all about
Absolutely.
frequency and
Yes.
energy.
And even the words themselves in the book.
Yes,
Vibration.
Names, words. The old Irish, that's why they never wrote anything down, because words were magic. They go, words were magic.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly right. And I mean, that's why the English wanted to just get rid of Welsh, get rid of Gaelic, get rid of Irish.
Every indigenous population had to be.
Exactly.
There
But
was
I think it just makes people more determined to preserve it, to discover it. I'm that way. It's like you say, I can't go look at something. What's the first thing I'm going to do?
Exactly.
well, that's why there was so much brutality. There was so much, because if you look at all of these, for me as a historian, and I focus on colonialism,
Yep.
it was about eradication. Erase your past, erase your identity, make you hate yourself, make you see yourself as the bad child that isn't listening to the parent that's trying to save you. We're just trying to save you from yourself and your
Still doing
off
it.
the path waves. You guys don't understand anything, Listen
Yeah,
to
exactly.
us.
We're doing this for your good.
Yes, and you
Right.
don't seem to understand that.
And
So
now
they'll send the book.
we're gonna take your property because it could be prone to fire or flood, and we're gonna put you in this 15-minute city. It's like
Yeah.
for your own good.
Yes, it's all, and you're the best. And if you do anything wrong, it's a very narcissistic type
Yeah.
of a relationship.
Yeah. But I mean,
But again,
fortunately, I've always been one of those people that just doesn't go with the crowd. Like,
no,
Yes.
me, I've always been, yeah.
Same. Yep.
Yeah.
you know,
But if you look at,
us
I think
aliens,
yeah, well, we are, that's our audience here. That's our, but
us
if
aliens
you
who
look
just
at
never win.
yeah, yeah. Well, I saw you already upstairs. Okay, they showed me. This is who she is. I'm like, I knew it. I like, I see.
See, I don't get any of that. Well, I mean, I do get that. It comes down in my stories, but it's just like, just going, she's too much of a skeptic. Let's just leave it there. We'll just feed her the stories. Just get her to do a job that way. Or we'll
Once you
just end
start,
up all this time arguing,
it's funny. Well, it started like that for me too. Not realizing. Then you start. If you can just control it, once you start sort of controlling it, then the where the information, how you get the visions,
Yeah.
will start to come in, and you'll understand them.
I do. I get all that. I think just with my muses, they stayed very much in the background, never had any visitations or anything like that, because I think we just spend so much time arguing, because I'm such a there's nothing between me and the universe. Like, that's the way I operate. And it's like, I don't give praise to any
No.
gods,
Yes.
none of that. I trust me, and that's it.
Yes.
And it's like, so I think that quite often my muses are just going, well, we'll just feed her the information.
Exactly.
So no, mine have always been fairly pushy. Do this, do that, do this, do like, all right, okay.
Yeah, you just get them like the stories, like people go, oh, I've got a great idea for a story, you should write it. And it's like, sweetie, I've got them like I have muses here lined up for days going, yeah, we know you'll finish a book. So yeah, we're here. We're next in line, It's like, oh God.
Yeah.
So do you
And my
have any
readers,
more? Do you have any more that are coming through right now?
yeah, I've got one. It's connected to the ancient future. series. It's kind of a standalone, but it all connects back into those books as well. And it's the story, like my main hero, like the male hero in the first book, Melwyn of Gwynedd, who was a very famous king in Wales. His father, like, because Tori was displaced in time and she was taken back to become a partner to him, because she'd been a partner to him in a past life and it had all gone horribly wrong and they were supposed to be together. Same thing happened with his mother. His father married this woman who just turned everything sour, and the whole, like, their history just went to hell. And so this Merlin brings back this warrioress from ancient Gaul, puts her there, and all of a sudden completely different history unfolds. And this is what he's been doing. But you get, in this book, I also got to do her whole previous history before she got there. And that was in ancient Gaul, which is the time of Julius Caesar, Mark Antony. And she was one of the Veneti who lived off the coast of Brittany and got wiped out by Caesar, all bar her. And she was only 5 at the time that happened. And she is absolutely ruthless. She is a past incarnation of Tori. And where Tori was, she was kick-ass. This one is absolutely ruthless because she has a quest that the gods have given her. It's her Vindicta, and nothing gets between her and her Vindicta. She slits the throat of a king when she's 12. Wow. No problem. No problem at all. You know, and it's like really interesting being in a character that is that black and white. She still has she's got a very good soul, like, but you can see she's not that chosen incarnation because she has, you know, ego. She has, you know, all of those things that Tori has kind of got over, which is why she doesn't wallow. She is the ideal for everybody else to follow. And that's why she causes such a shitstorm, because everybody admires her, everybody wants to be like her, and basically she can kick anybody's ass. So it's like, if you don't like that, you've got a problem.
Wild. Oh my God. Yeah, that's
brilliant. I know. We have so much fun.
Oh yeah, yes. Oh God. They all these characters come to life. They be, you know, I think for the author, but specifically for the author, they're your friends. They're like, you know, it's like they're real, you know. It's
and the readers as well. It's like, for them, it's family. They love going back into these books because they want to see they want to catch up with what's going on with, you know, whoever. It's so much fun. And I mean, one of the sayings that's come out of these books is put your Tory boots on. It's like, you're afraid of something, you put your Tory boots on, you go kick some ass, you know.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah.
Beautiful.
But you know, you can see how I've progressed through. I mean, I went through a whole metaphysical journey. It went into quantum physics. And then this book has like 12 chapters, is kind of the perfect blend of history, of the mysteries, of science, of manipulation, of politics, or like all, because of all the characters, I think, because, you know, because you had the innocent and the lover and the sage and the healer and the, like, all those different characters.
Yeah, so it's rich, very rich book. Yeah.
I know. I'm very proud of that one.
Before you wrote your first book, what triggered that?
I was actually in the film industry. I was running a couple of film studios.
Yep.
And I mean, all the film scripts that came through there were just crap. And I actually, the first thing I ever wrote was about a rock and roll band, because I was actually in rock and roll for a long time. Not me personally. My partner at the time was a lighting director. So we used to tour with all the big bands and all the local band, like, there's about nobody he hasn't done. But I was very interested in that. And then the next one I wrote was a little bit more out there. And then the third one I wrote was about a couple that kept incarnating, like that there was a curse and they kind of had to keep incarnating to try and get over it. And And so it was kind of
Anunnaki
going
soldier.
from,
That's real.
and it was called chairs. They had these chairs that kept teleporting them back to different ages. And that became my book number 20. It was a film like ages ago, but I didn't actually get to write it as a book until, and that's called The Immortal Bind, that one. So if you're into, you know, past lives, incarnation, karma, and all how that works, that's that book. And I mean, I have a lot of that through all my books because I love history. And I love all the metaphysics and bringing all the different religions in. You know, I was kind of loosely raised in Catholicism. I mean, my mum was stricter than me. I never really got it. I thought it was all a bit oppressive. And I mean, I get the morals of it, where they were trying to go with that. But it's like, you've got to be able to live by your own morals to actually get other people to do it as well. You know, I didn't have a very excellent view of the Catholic Church, which is why I wanted to explore everything else and find where all the threads met. And that's usually at the truth, you know. You get a little bit of Buddhism, a little bit of Taoism, a little bit of Hinduism, a little bit of, you know, and you look at enough of it and there's certain threads that are consistent. And the same with the old philosophers like Plato, Aristotle.
You know, I find that people who aren't bound by strict religious, either like I don't, either their families, if their minds are not in that realm, you're more likely to explore because they're always afraid. People who have religions, and I hate to say people have religions, but I mean generally what I've noticed when I work with, because I do a lot of healing for people, the people who have the hardest time with everything are the ones who have a religion, because the fear is there. They actually, it's funny. I'm like, because I'm trying to figure out how to help them. You know, I'm like, you know, but now reflecting on it, you know, they see everything in darkness. They're leaning always towards the bad, the dark, the demons, the whatever. It's
because
weird.
The thing is, once you say I believe, that's it. You've got blinkers on.
You got and it's fear. And it isn't enlightenment. It isn't like, this gives me power. I don't feel like a victim. Like, wow, life's great. They're like, life's terrible. Oh my God, bad things are going to happen. I got to, you know,
and again, that's where Taoism is beautiful, because there is no figurehead. It's a way of life. You know, it doesn't have, I mean, yes, Lao wrote it apparently, but Lao Tzu really in Chinese is the master or the teacher or the, you know, so whether that's an actual name of someone who really did write the piece or whether it was just a philosopher, who knows? It's a bit like Bitcoin. Who knows where it came from, but it's really great.
You have that expansionist impact in the individual versus a constrictive
exactly
on the individual, where one encourages inquiry and one discourages everything except fear. And it's really I just found that rather, it's just from when I meet different people who are in, because I know, like you, and the way I hear you talk, I'm like, oh, I totally get that, because, you know, I never had any interest in I didn't believe in religions at all. No. And that seems to allow your mind to explore.
It does. I mean, I was lucky to have a teacher in high school who did Asian social studies, and taking her class was like X-Files before X-Files happened. We always ended up off topic, right? And I learned about Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, all the isms, but you know, like sacred temples, mysteries. We'd ended up talking about UFOs, aliens, God knows. I mean, she was not supposed, it wasn't part of the curriculum, obviously. We always ended up trapped, but it woke me up. Like, it was just another factor of me going, well, there's so much more out there than we're getting told on an everyday basis. You know, I want to look at all of that. And that's really what sparked my interest, because I mean, I was born in the whole era of the New Age, and we would explore everything, absolutely everything. There were books on everything. I used to go to the ADR bookstore every weekend just to root through all the amazing literature that was there. And I just read a lot.
Me too. All the time. You read. I know.
And still do, you know, when I've got to, but I find these days more of it is just coming in from upstairs rather than
Yes.
and it'll be me going to check on something or to get a terminology right, or, you know, like I'm doing an audio book for my Patreon. And I was looking
Yeah.
for a piece of technology, and I get this, oh, that's an anamorphic shield. And I'm going, what the fuck is an anamorphic shield? You know? And
Yeah.
so I went and looked it up, and sure enough, that's a thing. And I'm going,
I
and
guess
I
it's-
got how it worked and blah, blah, blah. I'm going, oh, excellent. That's great. Thank
and
you.
it just gets absorbed. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's-
And so then I get to describe it and everything, because I just went and did some research on an anamorphic shield and what that's capable of doing, blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
That's beautiful. You get to drop all these gems
Yeah.
in your books and then just reveal it to everyone. So that's really
Yeah.
awesome.
It's gorgeous.
Yes.
It's funny
I
because
love, and
we seem to have our author series. You know, yesterday we had Lorraine McAdam and her autobiography on her experiences with the extraterrestrials, and today we have Traci Harding.
Yes.
Thinly veiled fictional stories.
And
I tell you who
Go
blew
ahead.
me away, and that was have you ever heard Tony Rodriguez speak about his
Tony.
Yes.
Yes.
Tony Rodriguez, yes.
Wow. It was so weird listening to him talk. Like, he's talking about these creatures that he saw on Mars, right?
Mhm.
And I have this creature that they actually got from Mars. They called it the Lemurian mutant, which is what they used to call Mars. And it was kind of half scorpion, half spider thing,
Yeah.
big,
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
And he's talking about it. And I'm going, I made that. Didn't I make that up? I thought I made that up, but
No,
Nope.
maybe not.
you were given that.
Or when he's talking about, you know, like, you know, the mining colony on Sears and how they operated and things like that, I'm just going, oh my God, this is just too weird. Like,
That's what happened. Yeah.
and I thought,
Yeah.
if this guy's not legitimate, he should be writing fiction, because this is amazing. It's blowing my mind. And it takes a lot to blow my mind, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think it's when you get the vindications, that's what blows your mind.
Yeah, exactly. It was like really chilling, some of the stuff he was saying,
Oh.
describing.
Mm,
And I'm just
yes.
going, yeah, I've been there. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. You
Yes.
know, like in my stories, you know, to
Right.
me, it's like I'm just doing fiction, aren't I? But, you know, that's safe. I think that's why they leave me that way. It's like, it's okay.
It's
We
it's
just get to pass it
basically,
off as fiction.
you know, we call it, you know, it's science fiction, but it's basically what you're writing is historical fiction.
Yes. But
One day they'll change the title.
Metaphysical. If there was I think they do now have me under metaphysical fiction as well, because really there's a lot of that in there, and I was probably one of the first authors doing it, which is why people were so addicted to my books, because they couldn't, you know, besides someone like Jane Roberts, who wrote like, she was Seth Speaks, but she also did the whole series of Oversoul 7 and the Museum of Time, like the Education of Oversoul 7. That I think that was the first book, and it was amazing. That was the one that I clicked in, that time was simultaneous. The way she was, it was like, okay, when you reincarnate, you don't necessarily reincarnate to the next, like to the future. You could reincarnate in the past, because that's your spiritual journey. And that it's all going on at once, that somebody could mark a wall in an ancient time, and then somebody in a future time turns around and sees a mark that wasn't there before, because time is simultaneous. It was like, it just broke through so many barriers for me. Absolutely brilliant. But so few books out there like that, you know. Then you spend your lifetime looking for another book that will feed you that way. And that's why I started writing books, because I was reading fantasy and stuff, which I quite liked, but I was going, really? You're going there? Why can't we go here? You know, everybody tends to go dark places. Why do you always go dark places? Do you think people enjoy going dark places? Don't we have enough dark places in our life? You know, can't we go somewhere amazing? Can't we go somewhere and do something fantastic? You know, like, let's do that.
Yes.
No, it's why I know that's so fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that's, it's funny. I never really read much. I never got into science fiction or fantasy, and I think it's because it's too fantastical. It wasn't real enough. And
Yeah.
when there's something deep inside you that knows like what what the reality is like. Even though you don't know what it is, it's like in your subconscious that's trying to push forward, like, here it is. It's that other, it's
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't get how you can have a superhero who takes revenge for his friend dying or whatever, wipes out a whole city in the process, and then somehow he's a hero after that.
Yeah.
It's like,
That never made sense to me. No.
what?
like the ancient Greeks. Ancient Greeks used to see that, it's like it's a very antique type of nobility concept, construct.
Yeah. And it's just, and this is why my characters are constantly looking for another way through, looking to understand the enemy, find out what the enemy
Yes.
needs, supply it, then they are your enemy no more,
Right. Right.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because everybody's just trying to survive or get there.
Right,
There's very
exactly.
few there was very few people in the world that were innately evil. A lot of them got made that way. You're not usually born that way. But sometimes they're just beyond even coming back from that because the fear is too great,
Yes.
the
Yes.
greed,
Yes.
the hatred,
Yes.
whatever it is that's driving them there.
Yeah.
It's just too
Greed,
great.
all those things like greed and control, they're all rooted in fear. If you don't have any fear, you don't have greed and control. If you're ruled by fear and you see everything through fear, you have greed and control.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and this is what kind of makes me very good in something like a crypto market because I have no fear. So I won't buy into the FOMO or I won't be easily scared out of a position because it's just like, I know, like my mind will just go, why is this happening? Go research. That's what's happening. That will be over in like a couple of days. Don't worry about it. My mind just goes automatically to stoic analytical.
Me too. That's what I know.
And it's the way to be because then you're not being controlled by your emotions,
Yeah.
which is not a good way to be, I find.
It's well, yeah.
I know some people really love the drama. I just hate the drama.
No, not a fan
Me
of
too.
drama.
Oh God.
I never understood that, but yeah.
Well, it's it's personality,
Yeah.
It is, but also I think sooner or later those people get sucked dry to a point where they will have a dark night of the soul and it'll be either I'm going to take my life or I'm climbing out of this hole that I just let myself fall in. And I learned very early on that to collapse into any, people say, let your emotions out, cry, blah, blah. It's like you are hurting your body. Every time you collapse into one of those emotional dramas, you are injuring yourself. And I lost a few body organs before I figured out I am not losing body organs to anybody anymore. No, not doing it. Don't care how much I love them, how much I miss them. This is my temple and
Right.
I'm not hitting it with a wrecking ball.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very well said.
And so that was something else that came out through my work too, is this whole like get a grip on your mindset. That is the most important thing. Daydreaming, seriously, you can get more work done daydreaming for half an hour than you can sending out 100 emails.
Yes.
Sure, it's so true. It's so true. And that's what, all these kinds of books that when we read a book, it helps us to heal. That's
my teachers. Daydreaming will never get you anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh God. We
Right.
won't even get started on that.
Yeah.
Ball, school,
30-year
education.
career.
The whole
30-year
programming,
career.
all the programming about daydreaming and how bad it was, and that's really
Oh,
I know.
so.
And I mean, I
all
still have to
education
do it.
system. Oh God.
And
God.
doing some of that AI art though is like daydreaming, like wide awake, like and having something to contribute as well, like just going,
Yes.
oh, yeah, that's what I thought, but you just took it 10 times beyond, what I was thinking.
Right.
Like with those bedrooms, that room that you saw.
Oh, the movement. Oh God. I can
it just,
there.
I just look at it and go, you are so amazing. Like that really, I could have spent all day describing that to an art department.
No, they never, there's no place on earth like that. It's the light.
Exactly. And I mean, like in my books, because we're in the other world, outer space, other planets, other dimensions, other planes of existence, try and explain that. It's something I've got to, I sit there and I work with AI. I go, okay, this is what I'm seeing. And then it'll spit for something and I'll go, okay, that's kind of there. What made you add that part? Go look at the description. Okay, change that bit. And then, usually 2-3 goes and bang, I've got what I was looking for and beyond. So yeah, I think it's an amazing tool. It is not taken. I mean, it's in the hands of the person operating it. Unlike how I think transhumanism will be.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit scarier.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Yes, absolutely.
Oh God, I don't know what to say.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on and spending this time with us and just taking the time to do this, because this has been so enlightening and so beautiful. It's such a beautiful conversation.
Oh, thank you.
I mean,
the books are like that, so if you've
Yeah.
enjoyed this, go get a book, go read one of the books and just let me take you away from all of this.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're gonna list. So we're gonna be talking to you, Tracy, about what kind of links we should put in the comment section.
Right.
For
I'm
people
going to put your
something more
links in the
frustrating.
description and
Yes.
your website and whatever else that you want us to put in there. Yes.
Okay, well, I'll send you the complete list. I've usually got everything sort of under most of my videos, but I'll sort out what's important. Because now I even have an NFT collection, so I'm on the blockchain as well. So if anybody's into ADA in particular, Cardano ADA, it's on that blockchain, and you can go buy an ebook copy that you actually own. And you can rent it and you can share it and you can sell it for a profit, because it's all going up. Whatever you want to do with it, which is why I went that way, because I think it's going to bring an end to piracy in the publishing world as well. But anyway,
great.
That's a whole other conversation.
Wow, that's that's brilliant. Well, thank you again for coming on, and Andrea once again for coming on and for bringing Traci to me, because that it's just amazing. It's amazing what you're doing, and I thank you for doing it. For sharing it with us, and
Thank you so much.
And I hope there's much more to come, and I'm sure there will be.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I do love it. I really want to get into like putting something on a screen, because there's a lot of people that don't read.
Oh yeah.
And so I would really, and this is another reason why I'm exploring AI too, because it's so difficult to get everybody to nod their heads when you want to do a TV series. I know, because I've been trying to get it up for about 30 years now. And while I was waiting to try and get a TV series up, I started writing books. And meanwhile, I've written 22.
Wow.
That's a long one.
We'll get there in the end. But I mean, seriously, I'm going to be able to make it with AI before they get there.
You will. You'll just make your own movie.
Yeah. Good, because
but it's great to be able to at least create some of the places, which is fun.
Yeah, because we don't have much patience, so that's good.
Okay, well, thank you once again, and everyone, definitely check out Traci Harding and her collection. It's beautiful and wonderful, and I love the themes. Just amazing. And just everybody should check it out, because it's just gonna, I feel like it's just gonna put you in another world. It's gonna make you want to read more, and just to get to know these characters, and they'll be like family to you. So I think it's beautiful.
They're really good family, the non-abusive kind.
Right. Right. The family you wanted to have.
The family you always wanted. Exactly.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Yeah.
Just wanted to point that out,
Right.
A lot of
just in
people,
case.
oh, no, not family.
I know it. Oh God.
Okay.
But thank you so much, Linda. Thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank you for coming on.
Best of luck with your series as well. Like, I think potential is It's really great. And
I
you've had
appreciate
some
that.
great people. I've been really enjoying your wing makers stuff, which is
Oh.
somewhat something else I've dealt with in the past as well. So
Oh, awesome. Yes. We're going to be doing more of those. So yes, look, more to come.
excellent. Because you gave me some great ideas for something I'm writing at the moment too. It was so
Oh.
funny. It was all aligning up. I'm going, oh my God. Because the wing
Oh.
makers are already in this story, right? And I'm
Yes.
just,
Wow,
oh,
yes. Oh,
so
wow, that's so
interesting.
cool. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's awesome.
It's upstairs. Upstairs is
Yeah,
leading everybody in
it's
the reading room.
coordinating. Yes,
Yeah,
the
there's no
coordinators.
coincidences, right?
And we
No.
want to thank upstairs for getting all of us together.
Yes, thank you
Yes.
upstairs.
Thank you, universe. Well done.
Well done. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time. Ciao for now.